Okay, good afternoon. The Bermuda Police Service would like to provide an update on policing activity over the Bermuda Day holiday that passed between the 22nd and 24th of May. First, I want to acknowledge and thank the majority of residents and visitors who helped make the celebration safe, peaceful, and enjoyable. Your cooperation and responsible behavior made a real difference. That said, it was still a busy weekend for police officers responding to a high number of calls across the island. We made a total of 27 arrests over the weekend for a range of offenses including impaired driving, drug offenses, outstanding warrants, disturbances, and possession of bladed articles. Of particular concern, we arrested 5 individuals for impaired driving, the highest reading recorded being 111 milligrams, which is above the legal limit. We also dealt with 23 road traffic collisions, 10 involving injury. I can confirm that the individuals involved in the serious collision in Paget Sunday morning have now been released from hospital, and thankfully the injuries were not as serious as first feared. Turning to firearms incidents, there were 2 confirmed incidents of the weekend, and again, thankfully, no one was injured. The first one occurred on Thursday night in the Berkeley Road, St. George Road area, and the second Sunday night at Southampton Rangers Sports Club, where 2 men on a motorcycle discharged multiple shots before leaving the area. In both cases, which is very concerning, a number or multiple shell casings were recovered. Investigations are ongoing. To date, there are no arrests being made in those 2 particular incidents. We are also appealing for anyone with information to please make contact with the police. I also want to take a moment to correct misinformation circulating within the community. Despite reports, there was no stabbing on Front Street on Bermuda Day. There was a disturbance, yes, but no major injuries, and 1 individual was treated and released for minor injuries. We do, however, thank members of the public who assisted police in identifying individuals who, in a separate knife incident, that support led to quick arrest of 2 suspects, and we appreciate their cooperation. Now I want to address what remains a serious and growing concern in the community: the number of people carrying bladed articles. Over the weekend, 6 individuals were arrested for knife possession. One example, quite disturbing: just after 1 a.m. Saturday, officers stopped a 49-year-old male on Parsons Road. He attempted to resist arrest, and a folded knife was recovered. He was also arrested for impaired driving and drug offenses. This shows that clearly carrying of these weapons is not limited to any one age group. Let me be clear. There is a belief that carrying a knife provides protection. It does not. In reality, it increases the risk. You may seriously harm someone, you may be harmed yourself, or you may create a situation that leads to ongoing conflict and retaliation. Simply put, carrying a weapon makes everyone less safe. It's also important for the public to understand when officers respond to knife-related incidents, these are treated as high-risk situations under our policing model, which is aligned with UK standards. They are often managed within our firearms response framework. This is about safety and preparedness. Any such response, of course, must be lawful, necessary, and proportionate. And I want to reassure the community our goal is always to resolve incidents safely and to avoid any situation where higher levels of force will be required. Another issue we observed over the weekend was the widespread use of cannabis in public spaces, particularly during the Bermuda Day celebration, an event attended by families and young children and seniors. We remind the public that cannabis use remains unlawful in Bermuda. Beyond that, it is inconsiderate, and we ask individuals to be more mindful of others. Finally, I want to briefly highlight our continued efforts under Operation Sentinel. This is a targeted policing approach focusing on organized criminal activity and includes increased use of police powers, targeted stop and search, high visibility patrols in key areas, and the execution of search warrants under current legislation. This work is ongoing and is designed to prevent violence and protect our communities. In closing, we again thank those members of the public who acted responsibly over the holiday weekend. We will continue to work hard to keep Bermuda safe. We ask that anyone with information, no matter how small, particularly in relation to the firearms incidents, to please make contact with us or the Crime Stoppers Confidential Hotline. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, how would you consider the level of crime experience this weekend compared to previous Bermuda Day holidays? Have you seen any trends changing over the course of years?
Yeah, it seems quite consistent. So generally, over the holiday weekend, you got a bit of heat mixed with alcohol, maybe other substances, and it's a long day. So people tend to become rather heated. So yeah, it's pretty consistent with other years, except this year it was quite alarming. The amount of bladed articles found on person 6 is really high.
Now, we also had 2 firearms incidents.
Yes.
Can you give us any information about those? Are there any concerns that they're connected? Any concerns that one was retaliation for the other? Any concerns that there might be further incidents?
Yeah, it's pretty early to say if they're connected, so we don't know if they're linked. One of the first incident on Friday night, we've got the ballistic testing back, so we know that's a firearm that's been used before. So I can give you that information. But in terms of the linkages, I can't say that they are or not. However, what I would just generally say in these particular incidents, we know how the organized crime groups work. When someone shoots at someone, someone goes back, and so we can expect that it will be maybe some retaliation, and that's what we're gearing up for. Obviously now with our Op Sentinel, and you know, obviously our heightened patrols and targeting of these persons likely to cause the most harm.
And of course, road sobriety checks were in effect. There was high visibility by police, and yet we're still getting a lot of impaired drivers. Mm-hmm. Does more need to be done? Does another approach need to be taken to address this issue?
Yeah, so enforcement alone is not going to eradicate that. So obviously, education and awareness is a big part of that. As we can see on our streets today, we have lots and lots of collisions. We've already up to 9, I think, deaths on our roads already. It's only the end of May. It's quite high. About 10, actually, 8 deaths on our road. So that's quite high for the end of May. So we're hoping that people are going to begin to get the message just from the example that's being demonstrated. But yes, I agree, we could always do more, but it's a community-wide problem as opposed to solely a police problem.
Thank you. Elisa Bernardo with Broadcasting. Thank you for your remarks. My first question is, given the number of troubling incidents that we've seen over the Bermuda Day weekend, is the BPS planning any increased enforcement operations or changes to your current patrol strategy?
Yes, of course. We always review, from previous lessons learned, looking at trends, the information that may be coming in to always amend or obviously tactical, have tactical awareness, and we act accordingly. So, of course, I read in my prepared statement that we review under Sentinel exercising all of our necessary powers. We just obviously met this morning to go over some things that we're going to do that's going to look different. So hopefully that can get us some of these firearms off the street because it's quite dangerous. But the message, like I said, I really, really want to send to people is people that don't have access to firearms carry bladed articles. Bladed articles, a lot of people often believe it's a protection mechanism, but it's not. It's nowhere in studies or in science that shows you that carrying a bladed article can protect you. So I think it's quite important that people recognize that they're increasing the level of risk rather than reducing.
Okay. And you also noted that there was a particular concern surrounding the widespread use of cannabis in public places. Mm-hmm. Were any of the total number of arrests made in relation to cannabis possession or use?
Yes. we actually made quite a large arrest at the airport this weekend for possession of cannabis. So it just demonstrates they will take any steps to get it into the island. I mean, notwithstanding the legislation sometimes can be, in some people's eyes, conflicting. There's nothing there that says that you can use cannabis. I know the 7 grams or below 7 grams may have exercised some confusion amongst others, but it doesn't say anywhere in the Misuse of Drugs Act that you can use cannabis. So people just have to be mindful. I know in the wider world it's becoming more and more relaxed. I just think people need to exercise some respect for persons around them, and really act accordingly.
Understood. And I know it's too early to determine if the firearms incidents were related in any matter, but this escalation in activity, is it at all concerning to police that there might be an escalation in gang activity or organized crime? Yeah,
when firearms are used, it's always a concern to police, right? Rather than one firearms incident, 2 or 3. So we always try to prepare ourselves to respond accordingly, because obviously we want to do 2 things. We want to prevent, but we also want to catch. So as I said, we have taken steps and measures to kind of amend our front line on policing, tweaking it just a little bit as we get the requisite information and as the behavior continues to ramp up and change. But having said that, we haven't had a lot of firearms incidents in the last few weeks, which is a good sign, and suddenly it ramps up. So we just want to make sure we can get a good grip on why it's happening and be able to target the appropriate persons who are creating this higher risk.
Okay. And just lastly from me, in terms of getting more boots on the ground, I know there's a defense review coming up later this year, which will determine how many officers the BPS really needs. But considering the current staffing shortage, where do recruitment efforts now stand?
So recruitment efforts are quite advanced. We were due to start a new recruit foundation course in the coming month or 2. So yeah, it's quite advanced, and we're continuing to try to leverage technology as well to help us on our way, because sometimes the use of cameras and other types of equipment can assist you when you don't have as much hands on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And are you able to give a number of how many officers the public can expect onboarded this year?
Well, hopefully we'll get closer. We'll get closer to between 20 and 30 officers.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Owen Johnson Barnes with the Road Gazette. Just one more question. You mentioned earlier that one of the firearms incidents was connected to previous offenses by ballistics evidence. Can you say how many firearms are being used in these crimes right now? I mean, obviously you can't tell how many guns are on the island, right, but theoretically you should be able to ballpark how many different weapons are being used in these crimes.
Yeah, so we did a review middle of last year, probably maybe this time, to look at the number of firearms incidents, how the firearms incidents are linked, how many firearms we seized, how many from ballistics we suspect are being used on the island. So it's around in the range between, I would say, 2006 and 26, maybe the last 20 years. It looks like we're close to 60, 70 different firearms being linked. But having said that, we've seized over half.
All right, so 35 more theoretically still out there,
right,
give or take.
And also to make sure to put that into context, not all of these, although they've been used, they may not have been used to harm someone or the like. It's just that we found characteristics that demonstrates that this number of firearms are on the island or been on the island.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you all for attending and participating. We will hopefully provide a printed copy, a hard copy of the Acting Deputy Commissioner's address this afternoon.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.